Cover him! One-handed catch! Oh, he's got it!
It is game day. Jets versus Falcons. Get yourself excited. Boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a little half-hour version of the pregame show. Going to talk a little bit about your comments, thoughts that I have about the game. We're also going to look at my pick'em for today. So if you guys want to do that, let me throw that up on the screen real quick. If you guys want to support the channel, Underdog Fantasy, use promo code JETS247. Get you a first-time deposit match up to $100. You can have a lot of fun with some of these pick'ems. Here's the one that I am doing today. This is a five-player pick'em. $20 to win $1,200. And I'm feeling pretty good about this one. Desmond Ridder losing one fumble. I think it is entirely possible with this pass rush to be able to get after him. I think he's a shaky quarterback as is. So I think we can get that one. That's probably the one I'm most concerned with of all these. But then Garrett Wilson, 51.5 receiving yards. I think he will eclipse that threshold. Breece Hall finally getting in the, I shouldn't say finally getting in the end zone, but getting in the end zone. He seems to be the only one that can do it for our team. Tim Boyle, going to have 1.5 rushing yards. Not as confident as I was with Zach with those rushing totals, but then Zerline coming back with the little 5.5 kicking yards. 5.5 kicking yards. Kicking yards? 5.5 kicking points. Come on, Ryan. Say that right. So if you guys want to do that, you can head over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code JETS247. Help support the channel. Help win yourself some money because that could at least be entertaining. Some of the stuff we got to watch on Sundays, not as entertaining. Jets-Falcons going to be I don't want to say a stinker of a game, but it's going to have some major draft implications. So what I mean by that, let's go over to our draft board. So those of you guys that are paying attention to Tankathon at this point in the season, the Jets are still not technically out of the playoffs. So there is some things that could happen. I think it's like a percentage chance, but crazier things have happened. So maybe we win, we root for wins until we can't be mathematically in it anyway. But right now, Jets currently sitting in the 8th spot. If you're looking at this top board, the Giants, Washington, and Bears, those three teams did not have their bye, which is why Tampa, the Jets, the Chargers, and Tennessee are sitting right below them because they have one more loss than the rest of the team. So if the Jets were to lose today, and they would match the records of those 4 and 8 teams, we would slide all the way up to pick number 5. All the way up to pick number 5. That gets interesting because 8, it seems like it's further away from the top 5 than it actually is, but the Jets have not played well. And you got to score points to win. Like, I feel like the Jets can be in any one of these games towards the end of the season. Like, I think the Jets defense can keep us in it against Houston. I just don't think our offense can match Houston's pace. I think we should be able to beat the Falcons today, but I don't know if we're going to or not. Got to score points. That's the offensive side of our production is really the biggest fear that you have, because if there's any offensive production, the defense should be able to carry their weight. You just can't have constant 3 and out all the time. But if you're not looking at the Tankathon, and you don't care, then maybe we could slide down somewhere down into here. There's going to be a lot of mock draft stuff coming up. I know I've started to shift my content a little bit more towards future talk. I do a lot of the draft prospects and breakdowns as far as my top offensive linemen, my top quarterbacks, top wide receivers, and we'll go through a bunch of different position groups because there's going to be different position groups that we can target based on the round you may want them in, because I may go over quarterbacks, not necessarily planning to say, oh, we're taking a quarterback in the first round, but maybe I'm ranking 10 different quarterbacks, and quarterbacks 6 through 10 happen to be there around, 3rd, 4th round. And that might be something a little bit more digestible for a Jet fan to wind up pulling the trigger on a quarterback, and everything in between. So let's hop into some comment questions. See you guys in here. Dakota saying, let's effing go. Jets win, damn it. I just want to see a W. Jimmy Jet says, rumor has it the coaches aren't fond of Trevor Siemian and that Zach might be going in if Boyle is pulled. I 100% think that could be the case. That's probably why Trevor Siemian was not looked at as a backup quarterback at all. And if you look at the Jets New York Jets photos that they post for the pregame album that they put on their website, they have Zach throwing the ball instead of some of the other guys. So it's interesting how the Jets media sort of portrays the pictures they want to put online. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, but I just found it interesting. Matt Riley says, should I start Breece Hall in fantasy? I am starting Breece this week. I took him out last week. I am starting him this week. I think it's probably a good move with the weather that we have right now. I think they're going to have to rely heavily on Breece. So I would play him. Wimmy, what's up, dude? Jets, 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 Jets. Let's get the chant. Jets, 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 Jets. Always good to have you in here, dude. Always good to have you in here. Bino saying, what's up, broski? How you doing, dude? We get to enjoy this Jet offense today. And as David so generously puts it, rain plus Jets offense is going to be brutal to watch. Hey, you know what? We're gluttons for pain. That's what it comes down to. Sit down, watch the game, and whatever happens, happens. I'm here for it, at least for that little bit. It depending on how productive this game is or is not will probably depend on how long of a post game I actually want to do. I don't want to get too frustrated. I might try to cap these at a half hour. As much as I like doing the hour and a half, sometimes it's better to keep it short. David comes in and says, I feel the Jets haven't played in a month. Right? I mean, what we have 6 points last week? I think we had 6 the week before too, right? Like when you start going back, you're like, wow, like the game we saw on Thursday night for, what was that? Dallas and who did Dallas play? Seahawks. Like no punts in that game. Could you imagine a Jet game without a punt? Nuts. Jets offense has set the league back a number of years. Ant Jet says, season on the line here. Season's been on the line for the last few weeks, and we haven't been able to get up and play for it. This is like final gasps season on the line, and I would be surprised if our guys really get up for this game. I feel like we're going to see more unfocused football. We'll see some bad penalties from us. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I don't see how anything that's happened recently would change the trajectory of the mentality or maybe the anticipation for the game. Like, I guess you're getting some of the younger guys. I want to see more Izzy. It sounds like Carter Warren's going to be playing right tackle today, so I'll keep an eye on him. He's one of the more interesting prospects for me because if he was healthy, he could have been a higher draft pick than he was. I think he was taken in the 4th round. 3rd or 4th round. So now we're starting to see him. Can we get a few more reps from him over the course of the season to really feel comfortable with him? I'd love to see it. I really would. At least feel strongly about him as a backup. Then maybe you feel a little bit more maybe eased going into next year, knowing you're not relying on a rookie, but someone who's had some starting time. We'll see. Ant says, stop Bijan and win, but I don't see it happening. Maybe we can win off of turnovers. I think the team that wins today, and it usually is this, so this is a little bit of a cop-out of an answer, but I think the team that gets the most turnovers today is going to win purely because both offenses are not going to move the ball well. And I think it's going to depend on how many opportunities each team gets within the other team's field position or within the other team's side of the field. I think that's what you're going to have to see from the Jets if you want to see us score today. Andrew says, this is going to be an ugly, hard game to watch. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Cuddy's calling an Izzy touchdown today. Book it. See, I don't think Izzy was available on Underdog. So I wound up going with this was my pick. I had Breece Hall, anytime touchdown scorer. I had Garrett Wilson over 52 yards. I had Desmond Ridder with a fumble. Tim Boyle with 1.5 rushing yards. Man, I did not want to take anything else from him. But 1.5 rushing yards he might be able to do. If he winds up taking sacks, I think that is that yardage lost on a pass? If you take a sack? I feel like it is. I don't think it's considered rushing yards. Although kneeling is considered rushing yards. So if the Jets are winning, and then all of a sudden he starts kneeling, then I'm in a bad spot. We'll see. That is $20 to win $1,200 on Underdog Fantasy. The last letter comes in and says, which quarterback would you look at in the later rounds, and do you think we draft a wide receiver? Of course we will get offensive line help. So I do want to look at a quarterback at some point this offseason. I primarily want a veteran backup, and then quarterback 3 for me would depend on upside. If there is I've heard a lot of people talk about the FSU quarterback. Forgive me, I have not done my deep dive into the quarterbacks yet. I know like the very top guys, like I know Nix, I know Penix, I know, I've seen Williams and May. I've done less research on them because I figure they'll go ahead of us. But I'll do all my research on it and get back to you. I've heard the FSU quarterback's really exciting. I really like Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to end up being a top 10 pick, so I don't think that's somewhere that I'd probably go with that. Oh, there's Joe. Joe says Travis Jordan is the only quarterback after round 4. Yes, I would agree. Based on the limited looking ats that I've done, that would be where I'd lean as well. As far as do I think we'll draft the wide receiver? I think it's entirely possible we take one in the first round. I don't think we necessarily have to solve tackle in the first round. Right now, the top 2 are Fashanu and Alt. I feel like those are probably going to stay the same. The Georgia tackle is a right tackle. He got bumped out of the game against Alabama yesterday. Apparently, he's had a few issues like that. Maybe it's like a preventative thing because he knows he's going to be a top draft pick and he's more likely to sit out with even a small ailment. But, Georgia losing that game last night was rough. So there's not too many top offensive linemen. There's a few guys in the middle. Like J.C. Latham is another right tackle from Alabama. That's someone that I think people will look at. And then I've heard the Oregon State tackle is someone you look at. But I could definitely see the Jets pull the trigger in a trade down scenario where maybe we pick up a second round pick. You go first round wide receiver, second round offensive lineman. I could see something like that. But I do think quarterback, O-line, and wide receiver are all taken care of at some point. Tim, what's up, Tim? Tim says, Ryan, why do I do this to myself? I know damn well we're going to tune into a game and only get pissed off. So I'm reactionary. Don't get me wrong. After a game, I'll come out sizzling. But when I see a game like I did the last few weeks, it's like I don't have the energy to put on some type of, not that I'm putting on like any type of fake emotion, but like I'm not going to go over the top on a game that I did not expect to win, meaning last week. And these games that aren't really like a whole lot to play for, it's going to be hard for me to be jazzed up positively or negatively either way. So you'll get the honest reaction either way. But I feel the same way with you, Tim. Dice comes in and says, remember when a touchdown was 7 points and a field goal was 3 points instead of going for 4th and not getting the first down in field goal range. So I really like the way they've worked the extra point, where the extra point is now so far back that the percentage chance of hitting that field goal is very close to the percentage chance of getting the 2-point conversion. That is why the NFL moved it back to where it was. And I like that with how good offenses are, it makes more sense to go for it on 4th down consistently. Because if you get the 4th down and you eventually score the touchdown, that is 2.5 drives worth of field goals for getting that 1 4th down. That's sort of, I think, how people are looking at it. And it depends how prolific your offense is. Like the Jets really can't afford to go for it on 4th down a lot of times because we don't, like, points are at a premium for us. But teams like Dallas, teams like Seattle, teams like, those high octane offenses, that's where you'll be able to feel more comfortable going for it on a 4th and 1, a 4th and 2. Maybe you have a mobile quarterback that can roll out and put a little pressure on the defense. But yeah, totally different game now. Blitz Crew, what's good, dude? He says Lazard with over 100 yards today. Sure, why not? Why not? Austin Powers says, I think Joe Flacco over 0.5 interceptions will hit. Yes, I do think that is a good line. I think he played the end of last year, I guess, and this is his first game action for a while. Yeah, I see that hitting all damn day. Cuddy says, calm down, Blitz Crew, with that Lazard over 500 or over 100 yards. Blitz Crew knows it. He's excited. Said it before. Joe Campone says Travis Jordan, the only quarterback to consider after round 4. I think that's probably where I'll fall, but I'm excited to do my deep dives. Once all the college games are over and we can see all the game tapes from the most important games. Like I don't want to see FSU versus like some shit team. I want to see FSU versus like high caliber opponents, and that's how I'll judge players. Like seeing Alabama steamroll a team is not interesting. But yesterday, Alabama versus Georgia, I'm going to take a lot of tape from there and look at that for J.C. Latham, for example. Eric says, Boyle versus Ritter, let's go. If that doesn't get your juices flowing, I don't know what will. Bo Nix is not a top guy. He is Zach 2.0 on meltdown ability under pressure. I think Nix is going to go higher than I want to take a quarterback anyway. But I will admit, the Oregon game, I was not very excited for what I saw out of Knicks. And Joe was there for the hangout. D1 says, bro, think he spiked Spiegel. I'm definitely lost as to what you're talking about. I definitely missed whatever is going on in there. Tim says, Notre Dame homer or no homer, ND homer. But I love that Atlanta and other guard tackle could bring in. Alt. He's a Notre Dame homer and would love Joe Alt and another guard tackle that could be brought in this season. Yeah, it seems like Alt could be the first tackle off the board. Alt or Fashanu. Those, I don't think the other guys are necessarily close at this point in time. And if we get a top 5 pick, you're going to be guaranteed one of those two offensive linemen or Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, the interesting situation is going to be is if the Bears decide to not go quarterback at 1 and they go Marvin Harrison Jr. at 1, or they go offensive lineman. I would think you'd want to trade out of that pick rather than foregoing all the value of teams, potentially getting a quarterback. Like maybe the Giants move up. They got 2 second-round picks. Patriots could look for a quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I would love to see Alt in a Jet uniform next year. Oksana. Let's go Jets, baby. Blitzkrieg. I would be happy with 50 yards out of Lazard. In reality, I sadly just want to come out without injuries. This is probably the best offensive line we have fielded in weeks. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be Becton on the left-hand side, Lakin, Tippmann, Wes, and then Warren on the right-hand side. I like that. I think this is the best offensive line we've fielded since was it the Chiefs game or the Broncos game? I think it was the Broncos game is when AVT got hurt. But that combination of linemen across the board where it was McGovern at center, Tippmann at right guard, AVT at right tackle with Becton and Tomlinson on the left-hand side, that was my favorite iteration of this offensive line so far. Austin says, trade down, recoup draft capital, fix the offensive line in free agency, as many weapons as possible. Do not pull a Green Bay and draft a quarterback this year. Give Rodgers what he needs. Let's go Jets. So I'm definitely of the opinion I would not go quarterback in the first round. I do want to go all in on a season for next year for a Super Bowl. So I'm on board with trading down. I think my preferences are probably offensive linemen. So Joe Alt or Fashanu as the 2 offensive linemen. Then I would say trade down. Then I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. Like if you can get a good trade down to go down a few spots, I don't know. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. might be above that. So let's say those 3, then trade down would be my option. And if you're sitting at 5, there is a possibility you may not have any of them. It's a wonky situation, but then I think you would have to be able to trade down. If those 3 go, I guess you'd have to be sitting at 6, right? Because those are the top 3 non-quarterbacks. You got to think 2 quarterbacks go. So really, if the Jets are a top 5 pick, you're sitting pretty. Joe says, you watch McDonald, Tippmann, Izzy, Warren during these games. I completely agree. That's where my eyes are at. Oksana, why are the Jets not playing Cobb? Because he's older right now, and it's better to get the young guys reps. I think there's a good chance Cobb winds up back on this team next year for Rodgers, on a minimum contract, nothing crazy. But yeah, I don't want to see Cobb out there right now. Rob says defense is going to have 5 turnovers today. Defense could have 5 turnovers today. The Ravens and Arthur Smith at head coach. I mean, if there's one team that really needs a quarterback, if I'm Atlanta, I'm going hard after Kirk Cousins. I'm going hard after maybe a Kyler Murray. Kyler would give you a longer window if available, but you got to get an established quarterback in here. I would not go young quarterback for Atlanta moving forward. And honestly, Arthur Smith should have his back against the wall. That's a loaded offense, and they just can't figure it out. David Gerard, if you let Russ cook, will you let Timmy boil? I'm predicting a little Timmy Simmers today. I don't know if we're going to see a boil. Stokillo, Tim may not have boiled last week, but if all else fails, I'm down to see Trevor see me win. Ooh, how have I never seen Trevor see me win before? I've definitely not seen that one, but that's cool. I like it. I would love to see Trevor in there. Apparently the Jets, according to some comments earlier in the stream, are not super loving of Trevor Siemian, which might be why we saw him hang around so long. I honestly would like to see Zach. If you're not going to put Trevor in and the coaching staff doesn't like Trevor, I think all Jet fans would admit Tim Boyle is not the guy. No one feels like we have a better shot to win with Boyle. And that's for all the people that are like, oh, you content creator said you wanted to bench Zach. Not for Tim Boyle. Not for Tim Boyle. Danny says, Tim Boyle masterclass incoming. We're going to lose by 20. Ugh. Eric says, Tim Boyle prediction, 17 of 38, 140 yards, and an interception. We win 7-6. I was joking. This could be a game that's like 3-0. And then I saw one of the, I think it was CBS or NFL analyst predicted 3-2 with the Falcons winning. I don't want to see a 3-2 game, but I would love to make fun of a 3-2 game where the Jets lose, if that makes sense. I would hate to win a 3-2 game because that doesn't do anything for me. Like, literally does nothing for me. Unless some miracle situation happens with every other AFC team and that somehow gives us a better chance to maybe make the playoffs. I don't know. I'm more about watching the young kids play, but, lose in whatever fashion, I guess. Joe says if the Jets get the 4th or 5th pick, they can easily trade down and recoup multiple picks. Yeah, Joe, I'm on board with trade down. Although I don't know if it would depend what the trade down is. I think a quarterback has to be there or Marvin Harrison Jr. has to be there for us to get a good haul trading down. Unless one of the other quarterbacks, starts to rise. Maybe Jaden Daniels at 5 or 6 isn't going to be as crazy as it is maybe right now. I did see one mock with Daniels going at number 7 to Tampa Bay. That makes me feel good. The more quarterbacks that can go in front of us, the more likelihood that a better player is going to fall down the board. Austin says, if Harrison is there, snag him ASAP 30. So I would take Marvin Harrison Jr. I would be really happy with that. Because when you have an opportunity for a generational player, especially when their father was a generational player or at least a highly talented player, I think, family lineage is incredibly important in the NFL. And you're seeing that with Asante Samuel Jr. You're seeing that with Patrick Surtain. You're seeing that with, Chris Jenkins' son is coming into the draft this year. You see it with the Bosa brothers, the Watt brothers. Like it seems to always sort of have a higher chance of hitting. And when this guy's being talked about as a generational prospect anyway, with that lineage, I don't know how you could pass up on that. That's why you got to do everything you can in free agency. I would love to see Becton come back. Up until today, I thought Becton and the Jets were poised for a split. But there was a report that came out, I think it was from ESPN is where I saw it. And it was about Becton's mom talking to Aaron Rodgers and how happy they were together and how Rodgers really lifted up Becton. If there is that relationship with Rodgers and Becton, I think I can see Becton coming back on a shorter term deal, like a 1-year prove-it contract. I don't think the Jets are going to franchise tag him. If he wants to get franchise tagged, I would spend the tag on Huff before I would spend the tag on Becton. And that's purely from a talent perspective. I'd rather gamble with Becton's contract versus other teams and lose him and have to replace him with someone else than lose Huff for nothing. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it does. Ant says, I like that idea, Joe, talking about the 4th or 5th pick, and we could trade down. And that's because he rarely wins. Oh, no, that was a different comment. Sorry. Oh, my files. What's good, dude? I saw you comment on my Twitter post the other day. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a little bit. Nice to have you in here. He says, am I the only one who doesn't want quarterback in the draft? Even if we get to ride with Zach, I would want either a quarterback in the 2nd round or trade for a young guy, Also, Mount Becton must be a Jet. By the way, dub today. So, Mudviles, I am actually with you in this. I do not want a quarterback earlier in this draft. Definitely not in the 1st round. But I would say I am open to the idea of drafting a high upside quarterback at some point. I just think it would have to be rounds probably 4 through the end of the draft is where I'd want. But at that same point, when I start thinking that, okay, what quarterbacks are going to have the upside that Zach has? And people hate the fact that, I really would not mind Zach as inactive quarterback 3, sitting behind Rodgers with a Jacoby Brissett sitting at quarterback 2, or some other quarterback 2 that could have some high upside, like a Geno Smith type backup, a Baker Mayfield, someone that could have that second coming of an NFL career. Have him and Zach compete for that quarterback 2 spot, but at least feel comfortable in quarterback 2. And then if Zach, doesn't work out after that season and you want to just let him walk, we got to pay him anyway. So I'd rather have the upside of Zach with him sitting on the bench. And it doesn't seem like he's lost the locker room. I feel like the locker room just knows the season's lost because the offensive line's jacked. We spent a lot of money on Rodgers. Everyone's getting hurt. I don't know. We'll see. Blitzcrew says, we will need a lot of help to get to the 4 or 5. If Harrison, Alt, Fasciano available, you grab them at our pick. Otherwise, try and trade down. So we do need a lot of help. But let's pull up so I was talking about the draft board. So for Tankathon, Blitzcrew, if you look at this, right now we're sitting at 8. But if the Jets lose today and Tampa Bay wins, then the Jets slide up to pick 5 because of strength of schedule. So if you look at that column for strength of schedule, the higher your strength of schedule, the lower you'll be in a matchup. But since the Jets are a 0.518 strength of schedule, that's lower than the Giants. It's lower than Washington. So you would leapfrog both those teams if we had the same schedule, or if we had the same record. So Tampa Bay right now does have a worse strength of schedule because the NFC South is abysmal. I mean, you're talking the Saints at 5-6 and the Falcons at 5-6 are currently leading the division. Falcons are in that top spot. But boys and girls, we will get back to all this stuff later on today. I'm going to do a post-game, live post-game after the fact. So if you guys want to tune into that, I'll have my every throw up, I think, at some point today. But I'm going to go sit and watch the Jet game. Have a little pain and suffering. I started a fire downstairs, so that's cool. Have some pizza. Gonna make the best of this. All right, boys and girls. I'll be back. I'll hang out with you guys later on. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
One, two, three.